Oh yeah, we back. We back.
Yes, sir.
First podcast of the new year, 2024. We're a couple weeks in. I was telling Swink, like, I'm kind of trying to get back on the horse. Like, anybody can relate to this, I feel like, with anything they're passionate with outside of work. If you really are passionate about it, no matter how long, you might take little breaks and stuff, you'll always come back. And that's how I feel about this specifically, because I've tried music, I've tried, streaming like we were just talking about, all kinds of stuff. But I really like doing the pods and the YouTube channel and stuff. So, yeah, man, let's. 2024. How did you feel about coming into the new year? Like, did you feel like your 2023 was productive? Do you feel successful? How did you feel?
2023 was kind of like más o menos, so, to say the least, because I wish I had more fights than just one last year. But
that is true. You did only have one.
I only had one, but I had like two people pull out before then. So I mean, I potentially could have had 3 fights. It's just,
was it 3 different people?
Yeah, 3 different people.
Okay.
So I was supposed to fight this one kickboxer named Matt Cecilio, and we were gonna do a 125 MMA fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 weeks before, he wanted to contact my coach and say that they just want to do kickboxing.
And you don't train that?
No. And then
when was?
Well, no, I do train kickboxing. I train Muay Thai, but it's just I'm not going out and trying to be a
to
kickboxer.
Compete in that.
Right. I'm not trying to be a kickboxer.
I know what you mean. So when-ish was this in 2023?
It's like January, February.
Oh, so this
right at the beginning of the year.
Right at the beginning,
because
okay.
I fought Jamie Lloyd at December of 2022.
Right.
Which is like right at the end of the year.
And that was your decision loss.
Right.
Okay.
And I immediately was like 1 week after that fight was ready to get back to it. Like I wanted to get back in and obviously get that out of my head. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I was gonna fight that dude Matt Cecilio and
like 6 weeks after.
Right. Yeah, it was gonna be pretty soon. Like I think it was January 20 something when I fought December 17th. So it would have been like a little over a month.
Like
after.
a month, damn near. Isn't that crazy? So I don't mean to cut you off because I want you to keep going on this.
No,
but
good.
the amateur scene,
it's wild.
Is what like I've seen or heard lore stories about people on like Sean Strickland's level who fought like 30 times in a year. Not really, but let's say realistically, what, 15?
Right.
Like that's a high number.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge number.
Realistically.
UFC fighters usually only fight around 3-4 times a year.
Yeah, four's a lot.
Yeah.
Four's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially and then now you look at Sterling, Aljamain Sterling. He fought 1 time a year for the last 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. He fought Peter Yan, Dillashaw, and then O'Malley.
Right.
And that was 2021, 22, and 23.
He had the neck surgery in between too, so
that probably didn't help. But okay, so
the thing about the amateur scene I wanted to say for you or tell you is like, think about this. It's a scene full of, to me, mentally ill people because we're all fighting for
free.
Nothing.
For free.
Yeah, and that sounds so stupid because, and I'm sure
if anything you're paying.
Yeah, that's another thing I was gonna say. We're losing money to fight people, and it's not like we're fighting people that are just the Tennessee MMA scene, especially. Like, there's actually some for real people that train and like they're doing it day in and day out, and you're fighting these people.
Wasn't Trevor Peak?
Yeah.
Was he in your promotion or was it
promotion I fight for?
Okay.
For amateur, he fought in that same promotion.
Hey, by the way, another tangent here. He came in there and whooped that dude's ass in Dubai, and that was fucking awesome. He's a class act too, because he came up to him after. He was like, "Hey man, this is basically from what I gathered from him. He's like, "Hey man, this is a tough sport. Keep at it, man."
Right. And I've talked.
Welcome to the big show.
I've talked to Trevor in real life after my last fight. He was there at the event and just watching as like a special guest, and they like brought him in the cage and let him talk and everything. But he's super cool. Like,
yeah, he seems like it.
Like
he seems like someone like you went to school with.
Right.
Like,
he watched my whole fight, and he told me how I had super good leg kicks. And then he was in the middle of talking to somebody and like took his time away from them, even though I felt like I was rudely interrupting them. I just kind of walked in while they were having a conversation and was like, "Hey, Trevor, can I get a picture?"
Yeah.
And he was all for it.
That's awesome,
he's
man.
Super cool guy. And to think like, he's such a savage. Like, that dude can
make sure your mic's like a little bit closer. You're good.
Right here? No, you're good. it's like he's such a savage, but then you meet him in real life, and it's like I couldn't even see how that can be brought out of you.
It's really interesting. I mean, the mind of a fighter, even, okay, you were talking about how amateur fighters are mentally ill because they're fighting for free. I think there's a case to be made for any fighter is mentally ill because you're putting yourself through pain. You're going, it doesn't matter if you are someone like Alex Pereira who has killed everyone he's ever fought, besides Izzy, but you're still going to take punches. That fight he had with Yuri, he got beat. Or he didn't get beat, but he got beat on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He definitely didn't come away unscathed.
Now, people thought that was early. What did you think?
No, I don't think it was early.
I'm the same way.
I mean, didn't he elbowed the shit out of him, right?
Yeah, and he went limp.
It kind of I think turned the lights off for maybe 0.2 seconds.
Mm-hmm. The thing about it though, and I think why a lot of UFC fighters get mad is, or not just UFC fighters, UFC fans, is that in championship fights you kind of want to see that one extra. How John Anik describes it, you want to see that one extra beat. You want to see if he would have let that go for 2 seconds, I know Alex Pereira just got him in mount. He not only he just got put out from elbows, and then he's on his back, and then he mounted. So I mean, to think that he would have came out of that is slim.
It's slim, but
it is possible.
Possible. I mean, all right. So I think it was Jason Herzog. Who's the British one? Is it Herzog? The
Mark Goddard.
Mark Goddard. He did a podcast. I saw him do a podcast, which would be an awesome guest to have on, like him or Herb Dean or something. But somebody was asking him basically it was some rapid fire type questions, and one of the questions was it was basically along the lines of, do you referee championship fights a little different? And he was like, kind of, because you kind of do let them get an extra little, you got to really finish them,
right?
Or you got to really beat the champion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just like when Rose a couple years ago, whoever Pena, I think. Nah, not even. That fight where neither one of them threw any punches.
Oh yeah.
It was I think that
Rose
it was Rose
Carla.
Yeah. She lost the belt because she looked terrible.
Yep.
I mean, she didn't lose, but
right.
Which is interesting. I think UFC, or I think MMA, I talk about this highly all the time among my friends and stuff. I think UFC is the most entertaining sport right now. Not even just MMA, like UFC specifically. It's more entertaining than the NBA right now for me. I can't stand the NBA. There's a storyline behind every little weekend, even if you really get into it, even some of the prelims on the fight nights they mean something. Oh, all this guy has to do.
If you're a hardcore, you'll understand. I've seen these dudes.
Yes, and you've seen them before, maybe on pay-per-views and stuff. There might be some what looks like a random bantamweight fight on the early prelims, but if that guy wins that fight and then two more, he might get you see what I'm saying?
Right.
He could be building something.
There's so many, especially the fighters that built themselves well. There's always a storyline to every fight, and it's almost. And if you're a fan, it's like you're watching episodes of them. Every fight's an episode.
I agree, and I think every fight matters too.
Yep, it does.
Just okay, prime example in the NBA last night. I don't know if you pay attention to the NBA at all. I just happened to. I got home from work. I was like, you know what? Let me see what I was gonna put on a basketball game. I look at two of the scores, and they were 40-point blowouts. And LeBron's on the bench, Jason Tatum's on the bench. No one's playing. That is a terrible product,
right?
For the viewer,
right?
In MMA, you can't sit the bench,
right? If you do,
if you do, you're going to get
passed up.
You're either one, not fighting or not performing at all, or two, if you do take the fight off, quote unquote, you're going to get your ass whooped,
right?
You're going to get physically injured, so you have to try.
That's one thing I was thinking about on the way over here that I wanted to talk about is athletes, or I could just say the general population. The general population, about maybe 0.5% can even actually fathom what it's like to go through a training camp, get in a cage, and fight another trained individual. like you can think about it and you can tell somebody, but it's kind of like, and I hate to make this comparison, but it's the only thing I can make. Have you ever tried to tell somebody, explain psychedelics to somebody that's never used them?
I know the thinking.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
And it's like you wouldn't know unless you've done it. That's the best way to explain it.
That's a good way to put it, because I don't know. I mean, I've never punched anyone in the face,
Right.
and then had someone also punch me in the face, and then have to
Right.
shake it off and then punch them again. Like that's crazy. And yeah, man, expand upon that.
Like just thinking of the little things. Like imagine going through. Like we usually get 9 to 12 weeks to prepare for whoever. Like, how many people on average have actually spent 9 to 12 weeks in a year just trying to do anything?
Dedicated
like,
to anything.
Just dedicating to, like, this one day, I really want this to go right, and I really need it to go right. And that's just with anything. And in fighting, we have to do that. We have to train 9 to 12 weeks, chip away at a game plan that we just hope is going to work. We don't know if it's going to work. When I fought Jamie, the only fight I lost is probably the most I've ever trained for a fight, too.
Really? That's interesting.
And that's the thing about MMA that is interesting. Like you said, it's like you could do everything right. You could think you have the game plan to a T, and it just don't go right. It just don't go well. So that's what I was trying to say is, like, imagine preparing 9 to 12 weeks. And not only are you going to do this thing, but you're going to do it in front of a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And it's not like if you just mess this thing up, it's just like, oh, we'll get them next time. If you mess this thing up, you can go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You can get hurt. You can lose years off your life. You can get knocked out. You can get embarrassed. Like, I don't think the average person can even, like, fathom going through that training camp, showing up to the arena, being in the back, having to wait for your name to be called, and then having to go out there and fight. Not just fight someone. You're fighting someone that's trained for you.
And is also trying to hurt you.
Yeah. And I'm thankful enough that my last guy that I fought, I got dropped by him, but I ended up coming back too and being able to, like, withstand that and come back in rounds 2 and 3. But I just watched one of his fights. His last fight.
Didn't he just win?
Yeah. But not only just win, he knocked the dude out in 9 seconds.
Look at that, dude.
And you know what I mean? It's like, that could be me. That could have been me.
It could have been you, but also, flip side, reverse it here. It ain't you, and that should tell you, you know, that you never be complacent, but that should tell you that, hey, I'm doing something right.
Right. That's what I was thinking too.
You've got what it takes. You know, obviously, dude, yeah. You've got a long road ahead of you, but you've got youth and you're physically still there, you know?
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting because, look, I think this is to kind of tie all this in. The unknown is what's always there in UFC. Whenever Conor fought Nate that first time, why did he lose that fight?
Right.
That was like, wait, hold on, what? First of all, why are you taking this fight?
Yep.
And also, like, wait, he lost? Like, I would like to see what the betting odds were at that point. I'm sure he was a pretty big favorite.
Yeah, if Conor was.
But, like, it could happen.
Right.
Anyone could happen. Dude, I'm trying to think. I mean, look at Sean Strickland just going out there and just
Izzy for
beating the shit out of Izzy. He didn't, like, I don't know. And maybe we can get into a little bit about Izzy. I kind of want to talk about him because he hasn't really been in the
ever since
news cycle, kind of. What do you think, or what do you know?
About Izzy, he said this whole thing when he lost to Strickland that I'm not going to come back till 2027.
He said that?
Yeah, he said that. But he just recently came out and was like, I can't believe anybody would actually believe that.
I mean, yeah, that's I think he needs to move up and just try another weight class. He's already a Hall of Famer.
I think UFC 300, you do Izzy versus Alex for the 205 title.
So by the time this comes out, who knows when is 300?
April 14th.
April 14th. That is 11 days after my birthday.
Nice.
So that's kind of nice.
Yep. I'm gonna be going to Michigan to see my friend Zach because he's actually one of the people that I got into UFC with, and he's actually the person that gave me my nickname Slowburn, and I rarely get to see him because he lives all the way in Michigan. But for UFC 300, I told him I'm gonna go up there and see him.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited. Man, there's so many freaking points of UFC I want to get with because they take a month off, you know, which
Right.
I mean, hey, is to be expected.
It's
holidays.
warranted, and we get so
But it's
spoiled.
weird.
We get so spoiled because every weekend it feels like, yes, there's something this Saturday I can watch. And, it's
and
new.
Contender Series,
Right. And yeah, and sometimes
and freaking
the Ultimate
Tough,
Fighter.
yeah. Which I never, to be full transparency, I never followed it all the way.
Right.
But it's cool. I like watching the clips and stuff.
Yeah, it's entertaining to some extent because sometimes the fighters are lackluster, but
In the Ultimate
it's a
Fighter.
reality show.
Well, yeah.
And that's one thing I wanted to tell you earlier when you were saying that UFC is like the most entertaining sport. It's actually not even listed when they like list their company.
Mm-hmm.
It's listed as entertainment. It's not listed as a sport.
That's interesting. When WWE just bought
Right.
them.
Right.
I'm not saying it's scripted. It's not fucking scripted.
No.
You think, you know,
It's definitely the
you know,
matchups are made in certain ways.
True. As the most entertaining. You know, counterpoint here too, or I watched that movie Iron Claw, the wrestling movie. Grew up on wrestling. I think that's another reason I like UFC so much because I grew up watching WWE.
Yeah, I did too.
Yes, it is. It's not fake.
Right.
Those motherfucking injuries are real.
Oh yeah.
Like The Rock getting his head busted open. Like his head's actually busted open. But that's
Did you ever see
that's a whole other conversation.
The Instagram reel that came out maybe a couple months ago of CM Punk at AEW under the table?
Oh no.
So he's like,
when he came back.
no, it was
Oh.
so. It was basically
Was
just
he
showing
slicing his head open? Yeah.
It was just like
Took a razor blade and just
yeah, he's under the table just stabbing himself with a razor blade. I'm like, why?
Yeah, it's theatrics. Now, that's a whole other thing. So, let me just say this. I think 299 looks better than 300.
Are you a big Sean O'Malley guy?
I am. Well, yeah, of course. Hold on. Let me pull them both up.
I agree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I also think that the UFC hasn't fully released all of their fights.
So they haven't, but the ones that they have here's 299. Let me pull up 300. Just what we have so far.
Now, I can tell you one thing. I did not like how Dana was like, I'm going to be announcing a fight in an hour. And everybody gets excited about it.
And it was Zhang Weili
versus Yan Xiaonan.
Okay, here's 299. It is Sugar versus Cheeto. I love this fight. Dustin versus Saint Denis.
I like it as a fan. I do not like it as a fan of Dustin, though.
Dustin might lose.
I don't like that he took that fight.
Why not?
Because
Dude, he's holding up the division. Let's be honest.
I agree. I'm not saying
he's
that.
holding up the division. I think that was the best thing that he could have done, especially if he beats him.
Yeah, he's definitely an OG for doing it. Like, he's a savage. And he's not, like, that guy, Benoit Saint Denis, is no joke.
Killer.
Yeah.
I know. I watched his last fight. I didn't even know who he was until he fought.
Steamroller, Matt Favola.
What? I don't remember. Was that the Dubai card, I think?
Yeah.
The last Dubai card?
He knocked the ginger guy.
Yeah, he beat the crap out of that. I was like, oh, and he's like ex-military or something too.
Yeah. He is a savage.
Well, the thing with Dustin is Dustin's all right. I love Dustin Poirier to death, but I think his time may have passed. I don't think he will ever be able to be champ. And watch me eat my words somehow. But how many title shots has he had? 4? Okay, lost to Khabib.
Lost
to Charles.
He got the interim title.
Okay, he got the interim title.
Against
I'll give him
Max.
That. Okay.
Which is
that
a 45er.
That is true, but that was 45. So
No, that was at 55, but Max came up to 55.
Okay, that's right.
But that's like beating
love
the
Max
45er
too.
for
Max is my favorite fighter. But all right. Who else is Dustin gonna fight? He already lost to Gaethje. He beat Chandler. Or no, he hasn't fought Chandler, has he? He didn't fight.
No, he did.
He did.
He choked him out.
He beat Chandler. He lost to I don't know. I mean,
I'm with you. I understand. What I'm trying to say is, Dustin came out a couple months ago and he said, "I don't want to just fight if it's another fight," and that's exactly what this feels like. It just feels like number 4 or whatever versus number 12.
Number 12. I think if he loses, it hurts him. But if he wins, it really helps him.
Oh, yeah. He looks like one
Because
of the most OGs of the game.
If he wins, then he could get another title shot.
That's one thing.
I don't know, man. The lightweight, just because Islam is fucking killing everybody, it kind of fucks up everything.
Yeah. The one thing about MMA that I wish wasn't a thing, but I mean, it makes MMA what it is because of this. The value of a loss negatively is way more higher than if you win usually. Like if you win, the value of that win
I know what you mean.
is like
it doesn't
way
count.
less.
It doesn't like say it
The
count,
impact is way less than what a loss would do.
well, which is what's up with just Dustin losing, but also I don't know.
The risk reward is
Dustin can't lose this. I mean, that is true, but
I would call it. Well, I don't know
okay.
if I would call it.
Okay,
but
so there's so many variables here because what is Gaethje doing next?
I think him versus Max for the BMF is what they should do. Because Max is kind of in this weird spot with Volk.
Max is too. Yeah, you're right.
And Justin has this belt that is fake, but it's real at the same time.
I forget. I was gonna say, there's a predicament here because it depends on if Justin's future is already planned out for him. But I think they could run that fight back.
Yeah.
Poirier versus Gaethje too. I'd watch it.
I think Islam wants Gaethje as well. I think Islam wants that.
Gaethje deserves
fight.
that. I think
with the BMF title.
Gaethje deserves that. I feel.
I
don't know.
just would be sick if Islam had a BMF title
on top of that, and then goes up to 170 too. Yeah. So 299 Gilbert Burns versus Della. How the fuck do you say Della Maddalena?
Oh, that's on that card?
Yeah.
Is that 299?
That's 299.
Oh, 299 is better.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Gilbert Burns versus Jack is one of the best fights I've seen in a while. That fight is so good.
Expand on that. I don't really know Jack. I've seen him fight, but I don't know much about him.
When Jack came into the UFC, he's undefeated in the UFC right now. He hasn't lost. Okay. When he came into the UFC, on his Dana White Contender Series fight, shout out to my teammate Tanner. Me and him have been so high on this guy ever since we seen him on the Dana White's Contender Series. I thought from that day, Usman was champ. Usman was champ when Jack had his Dana White Contender Series fight. That day, I was like, Jack could give Usman problems.
Is he a striker?
He's everything.
He's everything.
Yeah. I think on that day, his Dana White Contender Series fight, he could have gave Usman troubles that day.
That day?
Yeah,
really?
that day.
That's interesting. I mean, it ties into what we were just saying, any given day.
Yep. And
that's interesting.
I mean, you look at him too; his nose is all broken.
Yeah.
Like he just looks like a fighter. But then you already know about Gilbert. Gilbert's a savage.
Gilbert's last fight was that
Jorge?
Okay, yeah, he beat Jorge.
Yeah,
that's right. Mauled him. I mean,
right.
Love Jorge.
That's a tough fight for Gilbert, but it's also very well.
It has him as a slight favorite, minus 130 right now,
and that's fair.
That'd be interesting.
I agree with that line.
That'd be interesting. Okay. The one that I'm really this card is stacked. I mean, Kevin Holland, Michael Page.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, 299.
Okay, and then I'll just go. I'll keep going until we get bored.
You know, Francis is fighting Joshua that same night too, so they're gonna be competing that day.
That's generous to say that they'll be competing, but I know what you mean.
I think UFC might outdo him though. Still.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That. Love Francis to death. What he did with Tyson Fury was awesome, but Anthony Joshua, I think he lost his last fight, didn't he?
Probably. I think that
boxing just isn't the same. Boxing just doesn't.
He's just doing it for money. Period.
Right.
I mean, his coach came out and said that was the most he's ever gotten paid after a fight.
Oh, Fury or the Fury fight?
Eric Nixick, Francis Ngannou's head coach.
They probably got $20 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not ridiculous to say.
Right. No. I mean, even $1 million would be like you're getting $1 million as a coach. That's awesome.
Oh, you mean the coach got paid the most he's ever got paid?
Yeah. The coach came out and said that's the most I've ever gotten paid for a fight
Jesus
ever.
Christ. And he looked fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Francis looked like he dominated all the rounds, but he could have. I mean, I think he could have won.
I think he did win.
I think he did too, but. You know where you are, and there's a reason that wasn't a title fight. There's a reason where it is, etc.
We should talk about judging and just in general in MMA. Like, what do you think? How do you fix that? In your opinion, I can tell you mine.
Tell me yours.
You don't have them. You get rid of them all.
You go until someone gets knocked out?
No, not that.
What is that, Russian
'cause
rules?
That would be cool, but for like, it's unrealistic for modern times because of like television deals, and they only got a certain amount of time to be able to get their product
like
out.
go until someone gets knocked out.
Because people would fight for an hour.
Well, that's also just someone's gonna die.
Yeah, that
as well.
Like boxing matches used to go over 100 rounds.
That's absurd.
And there's been old boxers that would go for over 100.
How would you fix judges though? Like how would you score it?
That's the thing that I haven't. That would make it the hardest thing is developing a scoring system for MMA, because you have to think about the value of
damage,
that, and also just like techniques too. Like,
ground control does ground control mean more than, okay, say you're just like bopping someone against the chin? Is that
ideally you want to try and make the scoring it's even
Mm-hmm.
to where like both are impactful. It's just depending on how you do it.
Yeah, because
like, is a takedown 5 points?
Exactly.
Is a strike half a point or 1 point?
And what is a takedown as well?
Exactly.
It's and what is all right. So all right, you know how they say if say two fighters are on their feet and they're not engaging, they'll let that. They're not going to be like, all right, guys, engage. But if someone's laying on just has a full control on their back, or they have them on the ground, they have ground control, they don't tell them to get up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I just had a thought coming in my head that actually would make this.
Or they will tell them to get up instead of,
right,
if they're on the feet, like they don't tell them, all right, punch each other. Like,
have you ever seen, you know who Eddie Bravo is?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched his jiu-jitsu tournaments? Not like his, but
I've seen, no.
He holds a promotion,
Mm-hmm.
and he has his own like jiu-jitsu tournament with its own rules. And it's specifically made to where you're not going to have a loser. I mean, you're not going to have like a draw or a decision, and it's like left up to some judges. Like the fighters or the competitors make that decision on their own. So how they do it is they'll have a whole match. It's usually like 10 minutes. And if it goes to the end of that, they'll go to an overtime period where one fighter is starting in a finishing position. Like, say I have an arm bar, but I just have the arm, and they can have their arms crossed, but I have the arm in my hand.
Yeah.
And the ref will say go, and I try to get it. And that's like
interesting.
That's overtime, and then say I got the sub in 10 seconds, then the other guy would have to get his sub in 10 seconds.
Ah, that's interesting.
So, in my mind, if we did that in MMA, we don't have to have a scoring system. Let's just say if we have a 15-minute fight, there's no scoring. If we go that full 15 minutes, then we're going to go to this overtime period where somebody's going to start in a finishing position, and then the other person will have the opportunity to get out at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
That makes too much sense, though, man.
Yeah, I know. It's too much. Yeah.
That makes too much sense.
I think that would be then you don't have to worry about decisions and then the fans being like, well, I don't know who won that. Now you have like a definitive winner each time.
I mean, yeah. I think, okay, on the contrary, I do think that's why more people are drawn to MMA, because there is more finishes than boxing.
Right.
How many, I don't watch that much boxing, but I mean.
I think people be more incentivized to go for finishes too.
Yeah.
Because, if we go this time, then he's going to get a free armbar, honestly.
That is true. I don't know, man. That's a really tricky question I don't know the answer to, but it is interesting. I don't see a world where, because there has to be some sort of time constraint.
Right.
I think that really kind of is what it boils down to. All right, it's 3 5-minute rounds. What do you get? 2 minutes in between. All right, each fight is, let's just call it 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like for programming purposes. So I don't.
And you think about how long Bruce takes to announce these people.
So let's just say 30 minutes per fight. You got 15 fights on a card. I don't know exactly.
No,
I mean,
it's around 10 to 15.
So it's a lot. I mean, I think that's the reality of it, but
I think
the integrity of the sport could be. It is tarnished in some ways with the decisions. Like Patty lost his last fight,
right,
against was it Jared Gordon?
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't look great.
No.
And he didn't lose, but he also just didn't win.
Right. I just watched the fight last night on Fight Pass, and these two fighters are rematching this weekend, and I did not think that the first time they fought that the right guy won. I think they gave the decision to the wrong dude.
All right. Tell me about Michael Venom Page.
MVP. I mean,
I know who he is. I know. Didn't he train with KSI? Didn't he train KSI?
he trained KSI for his boxing match. Yeah,
Okay.
but he's a karate specialist.
Okay.
So, and that's very rare in
Conor
modern times.
McGregor-esque.
Well, Conor is more of like a kickboxer,
Right.
but
I just know some of his kicking
Right.
is looks like Karate Kid.
right, yeah, and but MVP about him is he has this like innate ability to put on a show when he's fighting, just in general. He knows he's very shifty, knows positioning super well. And when you watch his first couple fights, you think like this guy might be demonic, like he might be a little crazy, because in his first fight ever, he fought a dude that he should have did this to, because he fought a dude on 1 week that only had 1 week notice to fight MVP, which is crazy.
And the guy took it.
Yeah, and
So that's also his fault.
Yes. So in the fight, he's piecing the dude up, and the guy keeps trying to take him down, and he can't get him down. And Michael Venom Page is just like shimmying back and forth and messing with him. I can't, and just like as an MMA fighter, I'm trying to guess what strike he's gonna throw next, and I can't tell. Like just watching it from the outside.
You're good.
But when MVP had that first fight, he did this 360 tornado kick on the guy.
I think I've seen it. He knocked him out, right?
Right, but he hits him with it. After he hits him with it, he just sits there still and stares at the opposing corner and just stares at him while the guy is like falling over the place.
Oh.
Like he's like he hit him, and then he just looked at the coaches while he's like falling down from
He's like,
getting knocked
this
out.
is your boy?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then I don't know if you've ever seen the time he broke somebody's skull. He was in Bellator and he was fighting this guy who did a flying jumping knee into his head, cracked his skull straight open. Like, dude went, I mean, anybody watching this, just go look up MVP break skull. And the guy has x-rays of his skull just
And it's
getting
cracked.
smashed in.
Holy shit.
Just because he was trying to come in on a punch, and MVP just jumped
Boom.
up and threw a flying knee straight to his face.
How is he so powerful at 170?
I mean,
Do you see what I'm saying? How tall is he?
power is so subjective in my opinion, because
welterweight's right in the middle. I mean, they're not. He probably walks around at 190, maybe, right?
right. I don't
you
think
know.
getting knocked out is all from brute force. I think some of it is
Just
you're not seeing it. You're not seeing the shot
timing.
coming.
Yeah, I see what you're
And
saying.
speed. I think speed matters more than
Power.
than like brute force. Now,
Hmm.
if you have both, that's what makes like Francis Ngannou. Like he can punch super hard and he can punch super fast.
Dude, I can't imagine getting punched in the face by him and then being like, "Oh, I got to do this 20 more times."
Yeah.
Like
No.
But okay, so
Like if you see Sean O'Malley, and like what I was trying to explain is
Mhm.
Kevin or MVP is so long and skinny.
right,
And he can
I've
knock
seen
dudes-
like some highlights.
and he can knock dudes out. I mean, and if you look at Sean O'Malley, he's long and skinny and he knocks dudes out. But I don't think it's from like I
Yeah.
don't think they're in the gym like
1,000 pounds of power or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think they're like in the gym
It's all about
bench pressing and stuff. I think it's about speed and timing.
Timing, positioning. So, quick question: Why? How, around is MVP? Is he older? Is he a younger
He's
prospect?
older.
Okay, why is he just now? Why was he in Bellator for so long?
Bellator just got bought by the PFL.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is, why wasn't he in UFC before? Like, was it a no go? Did he just choose?
Probably.
Because like, if you're that good, I mean, who came from Bellator? Michael Chandler, Ben Askren. You know, why is it taking him so long? I guess if he's older, like if you know any
I couldn't
of that.
tell you exactly why. And I haven't seen anything
Because
on
the
that.
promotion is not great. But how do they have such a big prospect like this and not let him go to the UFC?
I think if I was to guess, a lot of times when fighters, no matter who you are, you could be the biggest name prospect outside the UFC at like Cage Warriors or LFA. No matter what, they're going to bring you in on an entry-level contract.
Right.
So MVP probably did not think he was worth that and didn't even want to test the waters with the entry-level contract.
Big fish in the small pond type
yeah,
of
think
deal,
about
maybe?
MVP going into UFC and getting paid 12 and 12
Yeah. That would be bullshit.
for him.
So was he the champion welterweight? I would assume so.
At one point he was.
I would assume
and
so.
Then he got beat by
some Russian fuck.
I think it was Johnny Eblin, which is do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
He's like everybody says if he was in the UFC he would beat every middleweight. He's like the best middleweight he's just not in the UFC. But I think he's the one that beat Michael Venom Page for his title in Bellator.
Okay. So Kevin Holmes is back at welterweight.
Right.
How do you think this? I think it looks great on paper because I mean it looks great. Do you think that Kevin Holmes is just going to go in there and work him because he's been used to the level of competition, or
this is one of those fights where if I was betting,
is it just a fun one?
Yeah, that's in my opinion. It's a fun one that I would not put money on, like because I just don't. They're both long and rangy. They both like to strike. Mm-hmm. Kevin Holland, I would say, has better grappling just because he's shown that. And MVP, he's gotten a sub before. Like in his second fight, he was knocking the dude out, but the guy took him down and he triangled him. So, I mean, it's just like MVP can do everything, so can Kevin Holland, but
that's interesting.
That's a fight that I wouldn't bet on. I would just be happy to watch and be a fan.
Okay. $2.99, you also have Curtis Blades and Almeida. Gamrot versus Dos Anjos. Peter Yang, Song Yadong. Pedro Munoz, Kyler Phillips.
Yeah.
Michel Pereira is on this as well. Versus, I don't know if you know that guy, old Michael.
I feel like a lot of those fights should be on 300.
I mean, dude, this card is stacked. This is all the way down at the bottom. I mean, so interesting. I think $2.99 is better. I mean, so let's look at 300, what we have so far. It's only a few fights that we know for sure. Bo Nickel, Cody Brundage.
And I think Bo wins that fight.
I don't know much about Cody Brundage. I mean, I think that they're trying to build Bo up. Yeah. Do you think he's legit?
Yeah.
I think so too.
At first I didn't. I've been a Bo Nickel hater since I was in high school though. So when I watched
so he's been famous in the wrestling world.
Yeah. I wrestled in high school, so I followed the college scene a lot when I was in high school. And Penn State is like the Alabama of wrestling.
I see.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And they have all the good guys. Every good prospect in the country from high school went to them. So it's just like
he just mauled everybody.
Yeah, and they mauled everybody, and they still are for years. And I remember watching Bo Nickel his freshman year being in the NCAA finals against a guy from Ohio State named Miles Martin. And Miles Martin put a pace on Bo Nickel that Bo Nickel could not keep up with, and ended up getting Bo Nickel so tired. And
did he lose?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then after that, Bo Nickel came back to beat him the next year and pinned him in the finals.
Oh, shit.
So Bo Nickel, like, even though I was a big hater because, like, I loved seeing Penn State lose, and when he lost his freshman year to that Miles Martin guy, I was like, yes. Like, there's a new era, hopefully. But then he came right back and pinned the guy. He's legit, though. And when he came into the UFC, I still thought, I'm still, like, want to be that hater. Like, I do not want to like him. But after watching his first couple fights...
he's getting it done.
He knows what he's doing.
The last guy he fought, Gore, I wonder if he's going to... Because I know he wasn't even in the UFC, right?
Right.
I wonder what his future is going to be. Do you know anything about him?
The guy...
I mean, he beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected.
Right.
You come off the couch...
I think they probably give those guys like a little bit of credit. Like the UFC might appreciate people taking those fights.
You think he gets a contract? You know, hey, fight a couple more times. Like the guy who fought Moutinho who fought O'Malley.
Sean.
He had a couple fights, but then he got dropped because I think he still got his ass whooped. That fight to me was still insane. That will always resonate with me.
That's a big point in just thinking about if you ever underestimate somebody and it turns into a fight that you think is harder than it was going to be, that's where you see the most upsets happen. Is when a champ is like, I'm going to kill this guy, or any guy is just like, I'm going to kill him. You can't stand with me, or you can't do anything
put him
with
away.
Me. And then the other guy is just like, they don't know what's coming. You know what I mean?
I do. 300, Bo Nickel. Okay. Aljo's going up to featherweight. He's fighting Calvin Kattar.
What do you think about that one?
I don't like Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah,
not as
I think we've talked about
yeah,
this.
we watched him fight Dillashaw at Connor's house. I get it's the right move for him going up. I mean, hey, he's already a freaking weight bully.
Yeah.
As is. Go up, man. I don't know.
He beats Calvin.
You think so?
Yeah.
He just backpacks him. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. Who was Cater's? Was it Cater or Qatar? How do you say his name? Cater.
Calvin
Kattar. His last fight was against Max, right?
No, that was at least one fight ago, maybe two.
Okay.
But how about that? That was one of the most
That was a war.
not even a war. It was like that is like one of the most brutal beatings I've ever seen a man take. And the reason why I say or I haven't even explained this. Max Holloway has one of the most deadly styles in my opinion. Because if you think about boxing and how people have died in boxing, when people die in boxing it's because they get knocked down and they get 10 seconds to recover and then they get sent back out there. So they just keep getting dropped. Max Holloway has just enough power to not knock you out and keep you around.
Yeah, and concuss you.
Yes. And that to me is like way more frightening than just clean me out like with one shot.
I know what you mean. He just like that's why
drags it
Max
out.
is my favorite, bro. Like he's so fun to watch and he's so freaking technical, dude.
I wish he beat Volk.
One of them he might have.
I think the first one he did.
Which the first or second one. And going back and looking, he wobbled him a couple times. And yeah, who knows? But also he lost 3 more times, or they fought 4. He lost 2 more times. So I mean, let's just give him that one.
I really thought when they had that trilogy, I remember having a little bit too much alcohol in my system the night before that, and like breaking down crying because I wanted Max to win so bad.
He is one of those people. I think him and Dustin have a very similar path, and you know, and the fact that they're Hall of Famers, they'll always be at the top, and they'll always be regarded as one of the best, but not the best in their weight class or their era.
So close.
It's both of them, like both of them. You know, even Dustin beating Connor twice in a year, like that was incredible, but he just couldn't get over the hump. He couldn't go beat Charles.
How much do you think? And sorry to
you're good. You're good.
But it's going off that point because when you said when Dustin knocked out Connor,
twice,
yeah,
technically.
Like, how much of a fan would you say of the UFC you are? Like, do you feel like your friends like the UFC as much as you do?
No, definitely not. You like Parker likes the UFC. We watch it all the time, but like I follow these guys on Instagram. I watch Ariel all the time.
And I can tell that. Like I can tell like you actually
I
follow
do.
the sport.
I do.
Follow the sport. When I had friends over at my house when Dustin knocked out Connor. And
I was pissed.
And at the time Connor had never been knocked out. He had 12 knockouts with 0 knockouts to his name.
And like 2 submissions. He'd been submitted like twice.
Right. And so going into that, I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, I don't think Dustin knocks him out, but he could like put some pressure on him and like wear him down. When he knocked him, I had like 10 people over at my house. I'm the only one jumping up and screaming.
You're like, what is going on?
What? I can't believe that no one does that to Connor. And everybody's just like,
that first fight. Okay, first fight, Dustin ragdolled him.
Right.
Second fight was different. If Connor doesn't,
the first fight, remember Connor knocked him out a long time.
Okay,
ago.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
The first one, he fucked him up. The second one, like I'm talking about in the new era.
Right.
So the second one,
right.
Dustin.
It feels so long ago.
Which it was.
Yeah.
I was nowhere near watching UFC back then. But the second fight, Dustin ragdolled him, fair and square. The third fight, Connor looked a lot better.
He did.
And I think if he doesn't break, I know this is like in some alternate.
No, I'm with you.
In some alternate reality, Connor, I think, might have won that fight if he doesn't break his fucking leg. Because he looked way better.
He did.
And Dustin came out. He had some bumps and he had some bruises on his face. Like
I don't like Connor jumping for that guillotine in the first round.
Oh yeah,
I wish he just tries to stay up.
I mean,
instead.
Also, why are you trying to grapple Dustin? Isn't he a black belt jiu-jitsu? Like, what are you doing?
He is.
That was all ego, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if he did get that
Imagine
sub,
if he did though.
everybody would
That
have
would-
been like, "What the?" hell?
Okay, that doesn't even matter that you got knocked out 6 months ago or whatever. That would have been the craziest shit. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about 300? All right, let me just skim through 300 real quick. Aljo Cater, Yuri versus Rakic. Yuri's coming right back. I think Yuri can win that fight. You got Charles Oliveira versus Tarzukin. I don't know much about him besides him fighting. Who did he just fight? Gamrot, right?
Benil.
He fought Benil, that's
Armand.
right. And he beat the shit
They
out of
both did.
They both did. So this should be a good fight.
They both knocked him out.
Yeah, they both knocked him out. I like Charles. I think he'll win that. But yeah, 300 is looking juicy.
Is the main event, which I know it's not, but if Zhang Wei Li is the main event of 300.
Okay, devil's advocate. I don't hate it being on like the main card though.
No,
it's
no.
cool.
If that's the third to last title
sure.
fight,
I'm all for that.
first Chinese title fight is what they said.
That's
it's
dope.
the first Chinese
Hey,
versus Chinese title fight.
growing the sport. Hey, why not? And Zhang's she's a motherfucker too.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. What do you think? There'll be 2 more fights above this?
Yep.
Speculate. What are we talking about here? All right, let's go through the list. What other title fights
Start
are?
at the top.
Okay, heavyweights.
So right now,
Or-
John
or-
Jones is injured.
Okay,
So that title that he has is not going to be in the
he's going to be
conversation.
out for another year, right?
Yeah, so we have Tom Aspinall as the interim champ. You could do Aspinall versus Stipe, but I don't think they do that. I think they save Stipe.
I wish Stipe. Forgive me. I've never even watched. I've only been watching UFC for 3 or 4 years now. I've never even seen Stipe fight. I know he's like 41, right?
Yeah.
I know he's probably the GOAT of heavyweights.
Yeah, he technically is by accolades.
Does he still have it though?
No. So
I would have liked to see John versus Stipe, but
I do too.
I don't know about Stipe versus anyone else.
I would have wanted to see that fight 3 years ago.
True.
Now, it doesn't. If you're a hardcore, it's not that appealing anymore because Stipe's 42, and by the time they fight, he'll probably be
43.
And
Glover-
he's fighting a John Jones who's in his mid-30s. He's 36, probably will be 37 by the time they fight. That's just, to me, John will do what John does to anybody.
Maul him.
Yeah. And so,
Maybe
like
put
we
him-
were saying, what might be the top 2 title fights, Tom Aspinall, there's nobody else really in the heavyweight division that makes sense to be that next title challenger.
He just beat who's
Sergey
the
Pavlovich.
Sergey. I thought he was going to lose that fight. In all honesty, I thought Sergey was going to win.
Sergey's a savage. I
Yeah.
mean, he definitely easily could have. I think either fighter was going to get finished in the first round, and
So,
Tom just so happened to be the
Would
person.
you say that the heavyweight division is kind of shallow for talent right now,
It's clogged up, and it's going to be clogged up for...
especially with John being hurt?
Yeah, and it's been clogged up for ever since Francis was the champ. And
Who did
after he fought Cyril.
Yeah,
Ever since then, it's been like...
which was like 2 years ago.
It takes forever to see
3
a
maybe.
heavyweight title
Yeah.
fight.
Okay, light heavyweights. So,
Well, I'm thinking, what if
Okay.
you do this? They've been speculating this. Alex Pereira, the 205 champ, going up to heavyweight and fighting Tom. I don't think he wins that fight, but if they do that, it'd be cool to watch.
I really don't even know how to feel about that, man, because Pura, I don't know, man. I kind of want to see him defend his belts.
I do too.
You know?
I do too.
I kind of want to see him defend his belts, man.
So,
But if you need a title, if you need something juicy, man, that'll be freaking juicy. Wouldn't he be the first triple champ? Would be
to win a title in 3
in
different
3
weight
divisions?
classes.
I mean, not 3 consecutive,
Right.
but like
That'd be crazy.
It'd be interesting.
Simultaneously to have 3 titles would be the hardest thing ever to do.
Okay,
in
let's
MMA.
kind of shelf that one then. Pura Aspinall
Right.
potentially.
And you could also do Pereira Izzy
Pura Izzy at light
as
heavyweight.
the co-main event. That's a good co-main for
Okay.
me for 300.
And that would make sense because Izzy's probably but does he deserve it? He just lost.
Yeah, I know.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
no.
resumes I would never want their job. Your resumes have to line up. This is a business at the end of the day too. The matches have to make sense. The people have to be healthy.
Yep.
People there's so many
They can't
factors.
have any legal obligations going on
Yeah.
outside.
So I don't think that would be awesome. I would like to see Pierre versus. I think Pierre is probably gonna fight
On 300.
I'll say that. I think he's the one. He's one of the ones that are readily available. Like he's there, and I think
he's been so active ever since he's came into the promotion.
He's really. Even when Izzy beat him, he didn't really take. I mean, he probably was hurting, but he didn't take like a beating.
No,
he kind of just got flash.
Probably
it
was
like
a headache for like a month.
Yeah, it was like a flash knockout though. It was like boom, got him. That's it. Like kind of. So, what about middleweight? Middleweights, Sean's already fighting in a month, right? So,
and they may turn him around. Whoever wins that fight may turn around and fight Izzy for the middleweight title.
So maybe not. Maybe no Izzy then.
Yeah.
So I think Piera is almost a guarantee, though. This is our prophecy right here. I'm calling it.
Piera versus who, though?
Piera versus who? Who else is light heavyweight? Besides, all right, who's past Yuri? Who's number 3 in light heavyweights? Jamal Hill's still hurt, right?
I wonder when he's gonna come back.
That'd be a good fight
to come back.
Jamal versus Piera.
Alex, yeah, do that.
That'd be a good fight.
But
I don't know
UFC 300.
I don't know his
Jamal's status.
I don't know his health because didn't he? I think he like tore his Achilles or something or his shoulder. So who knows? Okay, yeah, middleweights, that's clogged up.
70.
Welterweights, all right.
Leon versus.
What if we saw Leon versus Islam? I'm just saying. That'd be insane.
I've been seeing when Dana. Did you ever see that Dana White came out and was like, "We have a super fight in the works"?
Yeah, I did see that.
I've heard.
But what if he was just talking about Connor?
I mean, yeah, he for sure could have. But this is all conspiracy. I've heard that potentially was talking about Leon versus Khabib.
Whoa.
Yeah. Coming back for UFC 300.
Whoa. Okay. I have not. That's a brand new thought. I've never thought of.
I just seen that was potentially what he was talking about. I've seen that from a
I would say
highly credible source. I don't think that's right.
1 to 10, how confident? How
2.
likely do you? Okay.
Like
I was
don't
gonna
think he comes back.
He
But
doesn't.
that'd be
He doesn't
like-
need to. Either.
I think Khabib would beat the crap out of Leon. And
So-
I don't like saying anything good about the Russian fighters.
All right. Well, then in that case, do you think Islam could fight Leon, and 2, do you think he could beat him? Leon's a fucking assassin, bro.
Yeah.
He's looked so sharp.
And if Leon took 6 months and worked strictly takedown defense, but I don't know. At the same time, I think about like how long. I don't think anybody can learn takedown defense
Against him
proficiently in 6 months.
Oh, you just mean in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or and like you said, in general, yeah, but especially against a guy like Khabib, like how do you?
Or Islam.
Conor did so good at defending the first couple takedowns, or defending the first takedown.
Did he?
and then
He
got
lost in
taken
the 3rd or 4th round,
Fourth.
Connor. 4th. Hey, and you could say he won one of those rounds too, right?
I think he
Am
did.
I wrong? I mean, he lost. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's La La Land. But okay.
What about one of the coldest lines of Sugar Sean O'Malley, like how they scored that second round?
Yeah. Yeah, they said you lost the first one. Oh, yeah? How they scored the second one? And how about the entire fight,
Yeah.
buddy? That was funny.
One of the coldest lines
Um,
ever to a reporter.
Let's see. All right, well, so I think that the reason I'm seeing... So when did Leon fight? November? Or was that December?
December.
Okay.
That was the last pay-per-view.
And 300 is what? 300 is April. That's plenty of time for Leon. And also plenty of time for Islam, too. So
I think Islam tweeted he wants Gaethje at 300, I think. And then he wants...
I would like that. So that, all right, that kind of transitions me down to lightweight then. I could see Islam being a very, very strong possibility fighting, period. Anyway, him and Piera. Those two, not each other, obviously. That'd be fucking insane. But I could see them two being in the equation just because it lines up for them. Their schedules line up and match up. I could see Gaethje versus Islam.
Yep.
They haven't fought yet, right?
No, they haven't.
They haven't fought yet.
But Gaethje fought Khabib.
Gaethje did fight Habib. So that could be a possibility. We could have Leon versus Islam. Could be a possibility.
One thing I think we forget about too, and I forget about this guy all the time, and I know we already passed 170, but Bilal Muhammad gets forgotten about so much, dude.
Okay. What's he on, like a 10-fight win streak too?
Yeah. It's like
Okay.
he has exactly what Leon has and what Leon was complaining about when he was on a big winning streak and
Okay.
wasn't getting a title shot.
Let's give him that title shot.
Yeah.
Leon versus Bilal Muhammad, UFC 300.
Then you got to do 4 title fights.
Co-main event.
Because that's so lackluster.
Okay, but like, how many more does he have to win though?
Right. No, I agree.
I mean, he is boring as fuck, but like,
Right.
how many?
We can move on from him. I
I mean,
wanted
yeah,
to make
there's-
sure his name.
No,
got brought up.
that is interesting. I completely forgot about him. So, all right, 155.
It's hard
Islam.
not to.
I can see Islam, Justin, Islam. I mean, he kind of already. You said he kind of already has his path laid out, but I can see Islam, Justin. That would make sense.
Yep.
And it would fit.
That's what he wants. To.
Everyone's healed up. I think that's probably going to be announced before
Eventually.
we know it.
It's like we check
145.
our phones after.
Yeah, exactly. 145. Volk's already got a fight on the books, right?
With Ilya in February.
In February. That's next month. So that's off the table. 135 off the table. Sean's fighting
The pay-per-view before.
299. 125.
That could.
They could
be a
probably do
fight.
that. I mean, I feel like. Who is it? Pantoja. I don't even know who the fuck is flyweight.
I know.
Who would Pantoja fight? I don't know. Who's next? I don't.
The only people that pay attention to 125 are 125 fighters.
Right. And
That's literally the only people.
Well, also, there's simply just. Isn't there like 40?
yeah.
There's literally only like 40 125ers. So
Mhm.
I could see them doing that and then doing a Piera fight or a Islam fight on 300. There's 3 title fights. Boom.
Yep.
We did it.
Yep. You're welcome, UFC.
You're welcome, Dana White. Yeah. That would be yeah, that'd be interesting.
And so the main event would be
Islam versus Justin.
Gaethje.
And then
I like it.
and then
I could deal with it.
and then the co-main event Piera versus
See, and that's
somebody.
The thing about, I hate UFC. Always says we for title fights they go in order by weight on pay-per-views. That's the only time that they go in order. So
Okay.
so they would do
lightest to heaviest.
yeah for title fights.
Oh, like
So they
okay.
would do the Zhang Weili fight, and then Gaethje, Islam, and then Alex.
I could see Piera. I don't know.
But does Piera after? I mean, not saying what he.
Well, Yuri's already fighting, so he can't get a rematch with him. So he would have to. There would have to be some other light heavyweight. I honestly don't want him to go up to heavyweight, but I think it could be him versus another light heavyweight. I don't even know who the hell is out there.
I wish Conor versus Chandler was the main event. That's the best main event you probably could do.
Let's talk about that, and then got a few more minutes. Let's talk about Conor, and then we'll talk about like what you got planned this year, man. And we'll wrap this thing up. What the fuck, Are they fighting at 185? Is Conor just fucking with him?
Wouldn't it be funny that he came out and said all that 185 crap, and then like 8 weeks before he's like, actually,
let's do 145.
We're cutting down to 55.
What do you think, man? I mean, okay? Let me lay the foundation here, and then I want you to just talk about it. All right? It really matters what weight class they're fighting at. What does this mean for whoever wins? It's a big fight either way. How do you feel?
Those are so like the answers to those are so vague because what does it really mean?
Yeah,
Conor,
what does it mean? It doesn't. There's no title implications if you fight at 185.
Right, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
At this point, it's become just a fight, kind of like what you were saying earlier with Conor and Nate. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And I feel like the only reason we're doing this is because they had a tough season together, so we just got it. Like, they have to. Or we'll feel like it's one of those fights that we missed out on in history. We don't know how it would have went down. I don't know how the fight goes, no matter at what weight.
I don't either.
I think at any weight, the result's going to be the same.
I have no idea. Michael's last fight, he knocked out Tony Ferguson, who's a corpse.
Yeah. Sadly,
yeah. But the fight before that, he got beat by Charles, right? I don't know how many
No, he got beat by Dustin.
He got beat by Dustin. Who knows, man? Who knows? So Chandler's 2-2 in the UFC, right?
He came in, beat Dan Hooker.
Beat Dan Hooker, lost to Charles, lost to Dustin, beat Tony.
And he lost to Gaethje, too.
Lost to Gaethje, so he's 2-3. So, what does this fight mean?
It don't mean anything.
It doesn't, and I think that might be why it's not on 300, because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Besides sell entertainment, and it ties back to the first point we made. It's an entertainment thing.
And as a business side of thing, if you're trying to have a bigger year, you don't try to crowd it all in one event. You try to spread out your events, or you try to spread out moments throughout the year. So they'll have 300 as a big event, and then they'll have Conor have its own event
in the summer,
and it'll be just as big as 300.
In 299 right before it. I mean, I don't know.
The UFC gets bigger every year.
Maybe there's nothing to it, man. I just wish I knew more information about what the hell Conor's doing, where they're fighting. Or do we know where?
Las Vegas.
Okay, fight in Vegas. Is it a pay-per-view? I assume it is.
Yeah, anytime Conor fights, it'll be a pay-per-view.
What is it? 302 or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
302 UFC Las Vegas. What's the co-main event? Like, there's no way a co-main event is going to be a title fight. This one's so I just don't know.
I'm with you.
Maybe there's nothing else to this, man.
Yeah.
Maybe there's nothing else to this. I just want to know. Honestly, I think if we figure out what weight class they're fighting at, then it'll make more sense. If they're fighting at 155 again, I don't think Conor can do that. But if they're fighting at 155 again, okay, then all right, Conor might make another run up through the ranks and fight Islam, which would be fucking wild.
That sounds like the best option is to do 55.
But I don't think they will.
No.
I don't think Conor wants to cut that much weight, and who knows, man? Maybe Conor goes up to 170. Maybe they fight at 170, and then Conor beats Chandler, and then goes and beats Colby Covington, and then maybe he tries to do the triple belt thing. I don't know. Because Chandler too, I don't think Chandler's lost 3 times, and he was the big acquisition from Bellator. He was the lightweight champ and blah blah blah, and came in and didn't really get it done.
No, his first fight, it literally was his best performance besides the knockout of Tony Ferguson.
Yeah,
but and I think that if his fights would have went in any other order. Like, if he would have fought Dustin on his debut and lost, or Gaethje on his debut,
wouldn't have mattered as much.
Chandler, he would not be fighting Conor right now. He wouldn't have had that tough opportunity.
How old is Conor? Is he 35?
Yep. 35 or 36. Or 30. He might be 34.
I know he still wants to fight. I don't think he has to anymore. I think he wants to.
He hasn't had to fight since the Habib fight.
Yeah. After he fought Floyd, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should be interesting. I don't really think there's anything else to that. We'll know more when we do. We'll talk about it more. But I want to know more.
I do too.
I want to know more.
I think they'll give us more closer.
Tell me about what you got planned this year. If you got anything planned, man. I mean, still training your ass off,
right?
Working hard,
right? Is
that kind of what it is, or what do you got, man?
Right now, it's kind of just like. The past couple years of my MMA career have kind of just been laying the foundation of what's to come. Mm-hmm. So, 2021, had one fight. Mm-hmm. My eyes were messed up. I still hadn't had eye surgery. And that's when I wanted to tell you earlier is like, the last time I was on here, I was half legally blind, had one fight, and just so much has changed since then. I've got my eyes fixed. I now have 20/20 vision.
Did you get LASIK?
I got PRK, which is like LASIK. LASIK involves you getting a extra lens put on your eye, so it's like a material will lay over your eye.
Oh wow.
PRK is they laser your cornea and reshape your cornea entirely, so to make you be able to see. So I had to, and that the surgery is on my Instagram. If you have to do the surgery while you're awake, so it was just a whole big ordeal. Anyway, so I had that eye surgery, and then. I've had 2 fights since then, 1 loss, 1 win. Mm-hmm. And I feel like those first 3 fights I had really were laying the foundation of what I'm about to do this year and next year in 2026. So 2024, I want to have my first professional fight, at least, maybe 2.
Okay.
So right now I'm trying to just get as prepared for that as possible, because now when we go pro, my record's going to start over. I'm going to be 0-0. I'm now going to be getting paid.
Ooh.
There's going to be elbows involved.
Oh, you could throw elbows in the amateur.
No, couldn't throw elbows. And there's going to be knees to the head involved too.
Okay.
So I wasn't allowed to do those as an amateur. So now, and that's why I feel like maybe some people are like, what's taking you so long to get back into the cage? And it's like, I have to be physically, mentally ready to understand those weapons, use those weapons, defend those weapons. So I'm making sure I'm fully prepared before I go into that stage of MMA. Before I had my first MMA fight, I did 6 months of striking before I did it, because I did not want to get in a cage where I felt like if I can't take this dude down, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So I take a well amount of time to be prepared for stuff. So the next 4 months, I'll be competing in 3 jiu-jitsu tournaments, and
Sharpen the tools.
Right. And since we last been on the podcast, after the fight that I lost against Jamie, my coach gave me my blue belt, which really just means that now when I go to jiu-jitsu tournaments, I have to go against harder people. So,
dude, that's what makes you better, though.
Right, exactly. So now the next couple months, I'll be competing in my first blue belt tournaments, and then this summer, hopefully, I can get Kobe to come with me. We're going to be going to Thailand.
Oh, yeah. Kobe was telling me about that.
We're going to go to Thailand, and we're going to learn from some actual Muay Thai fighters.
Wow, man.
And be able to, like, really just get involved with the culture of striking. Because I've grown up as a grappler. Like, I've wrestled in high school. I did jiu-jitsu for 2 years before I had my first fight. And I've only been striking since 2021. So I want to go out there and really understand the striking stuff. So after that, when I come back from Thailand, we're going to start looking for either my first professional fight, or I'll have one more last amateur fight. Ideally, first pro fight. And then from 2024 to 2026, we want to try and build our pro resume, and then in 2026, get the UFC to notice me.
Hey, man.
That's the plan.
Okay. Well, last question, and I'll let you go, man. Last question. What's the process like of going professional in Tennessee? Like, is there an organization that you are closely, like, that you can closely access?
So what's cool is the last 2 fights I've had for this amateur promotion called Aries Fight Series.
Yeah.
They hold professional fights as well as amateur fights.
Okay.
So they'll have cards where the main card, the last 5 fights are all pro fights, and the prelims are all amateur.
That's interesting. I see. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And it's like Nashville based.
Right. So
okay.
I fought for them in Knoxville too.
Okay.
So that's what's cool too, is like the Tennessee MMA scene is actually prominent.
It's established. I didn't realize. That's why I was asking. I was like, where you got to go to Atlanta or something for professional bouts?
About going pro, anybody can do that. You could literally tomorrow
just sign a piece of paper.
Yeah, you tomorrow could be like, I want to be a professional fighter, and go sign up for a professional fight. It's not the biggest thing. The only thing would be an issue is like getting a promoter to find you somebody else to fight you that's also a debut. So they don't have to be a debut, but ideally that's how MMA works. They match you up with people around your experience. So
and that's how it is in general.
Right. So hopefully the first guy I fight is a debut as well and professional, and we get to finally elbow each other.
Hell yeah, man.
And I mean, if you think about it, if you watch all my fights, I took down all my opponents. Imagine if I was able to elbow them when I was on top.
Like that guy with the one eye, Shara Bullet.
Yeah.
Dude, he was elbowing the shit out of that guy on his back.
Do you see
crazy.
His Instagram video before that?
I followed him after that.
He is sharpening his elbow on like
concrete.
Oh, dude,
just like breaking his.
It's like sparks are coming off his elbow. Like he's putting his elbow on something, and sparks are coming off.
What a lunatic!
Yeah, what a crazy dude.
Oh man. Well, yeah, man. Excited, happy. Come back on again, man. I'm ready for just MMA in general.
Right.
It's a beautiful sport, man.
Yeah, I know. The past 3 weeks have been so lackluster without it.
Oh yeah. Well, we got fights tomorrow. This podcast will be out this weekend.
Heck yeah.
We got some good talking points about
Everything.
the next few fights, so we don't got to rush to put this out to where it's like, ah, da, da, da. So we got good talking points about 299, 300, all that. Yeah, guys.